Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter's Reality TV Recaps and Opinions, better known as, and that's my opinion, with Peter Mon. And today I want to talk about The Bachelor. I have lots to say about it as we near the finale next week of The Bachelor. But before I do, I just want to give you guys a little bit of an update. I'm actually not in my bedroom in Indiana. I know it looks like I'm in my bedroom, but I'm not actually in my bedroom. I've said this on all of my videos that I'm pre-filming, but I'm actually in Miami, Florida. My husband and I are in Miami, Florida for Ultra Music Festival. I pre-filmed some videos for Thursday because I wanted to let you guys know that I might be taking some time off. We are going to Ultra Music Festival over the weekend, and then we're staying for a few days afterwards in Miami just to rest and relax on the beach. When I get back, I will be filming over here again regularly, but I just wanted to let you guys know. I may film a little bit while I'm gone on some of my other channels, but probably on this channel, I'll take a break until I get back. So I just wanted to let you guys know, but when I get back, I will be regularly filming. I'll try to film over here every day, every other day. I am like trying to get into the pace of filming more regularly over here. And April's my month. April's my month. I'm real excited about it. So, all right, let's get into The Bachelor and the spoilers. I just want to say this, first of all, okay? I am going to spoil the end of The Bachelor for you. So if you do not want to know what is going to happen at the end of The Bachelor, do not watch this video. I'm just going to make that very, very clear. Let me tell you what happened. Okay, so last night I was getting caught up on The Bachelor, and I watched this week's episode, which was where they had the reunion with all the women. And they all sit down and they talk, and they interviewed Maria, and they interviewed Jen, and they, you know, all those people. And then at the very end of the episode, they showed the final three in Tulum, which is Daisy, Kelsey A, and Rachel. And then he had to give out his final roses for the final rose ceremony. This whole concept for the show, if you didn't watch my last video that I did where I called it something like The Bachelor is a cult and I'm here for it, but it totally is. It's so bizarre. I mean, it's not a cult, but the whole concept for the show is so bizarre. And I was watching it like at this part where, so he gives his final roses to Daisy and Kelsey A, okay? And they do this whole thing where Kelsey A is, she's like really like unsure. She's talked to Leslie from The Golden Bachelor, and so she's really unsure of what she wants to do going forward. And they tease out the episode before that with her leaving a note on Joey's door. So Joey speaks to her. Joey's all distraught. He doesn't know what she's going to say, if she's going to leave the show or not. What we find out this week is that Kelsey A actually just wanted to tell him out how much she misses him when she's not with him. It was such a stupid point of the show. It was obviously concocted by production. It was dumb. It just didn't, I mean, she really, like, she sat on the couch with him. He was, like, so upset that she was going to tell him that she was leaving or something, and we're going to find out why in just a second. And she was like, I just wanted to let you know that when I'm not with you, I miss you. And I'm like, you could have written that on a card, texted it to him, called, I mean, I guess they can't have their phones, but anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't have to have us meet with him. And in that moment, he's like very upset. He's like, I was really stressed out about this. And it's this moment where you're like, oh my God, like they have to throw in some kind of drama, right? Like the whole season has been about this final moment where it looks like he tries to propose to somebody, and they show a car driving away. They show him getting unmiked. They show him walking away from like the engagement altar and all that kind of stuff. And so you think he's getting left at the altar. The whole season, he keeps on saying his biggest fear is that he's going to have feelings for somebody that's not reciprocated. That's been the message this entire season, right? And so you're left thinking that whoever he proposes to is going to leave him at the altar. So that's his biggest fear. So in this moment where Kelsey A has a sit down with him, he's like not happy about it at all, right? And so you think that he's not going to pick Kelsey because of that. You think he's going to pick Rachel and Daisy. And I really, to be honest with you, I had a lot of feelings in my last video, but going into this final episode, or this final part where they showed the final rose ceremony, I really wasn't very sure of what was going to happen. I really wasn't. But he ended up giving his rose to Daisy, and he gave his rose to Kelsey A, and said goodbye to Rachel. It was a very genuine moment. And basically what he said was that he didn't really reciprocate the same feelings that she had, and he could really never get there. As I was watching it, this is where, like, the weird concept of the show comes in, right? Because he has all his love for all these women and stuff. I'm sitting there watching it, and it's like, you know, they all sign up for the show. They, like, I mean, there's been so many seasons before, right? They all know what they're getting into. And at the same time, it's like, I cannot imagine being in Joey's shoes and having to say goodbye to these women. And I can't imagine being in these women's shoes and getting down to the final 3 or the final 6 or even the final 10 and then being told that you're not picked, right? And as Rachel walks away, she says, I don't think it has anything to do with Joey. I think it has to do with me. I didn't tell him soon enough, you know, how I really felt. And so then it's all these women looking at, like, why am I not good enough to be picked? And it's so weird that, like, that's not really talked about on the context of the show. They talk a lot about the women's insecurities and things like that, but they don't really talk so much about, you know, this whole idea of women walking away from this, or men on The Bachelorette walking away feeling like it's something about them that's wrong. Not that it wasn't a good match, or that they didn't have a connection, but that there's something, because most of these women will say, I don't know why he didn't want me, or I don't know what's wrong with me. And like Rachel said, it must have been me, because it's not Joey, because he's perfect, right? And it's this idea of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette being the most perfect person, and all these people almost kind of being less than them, having to like get their, you know, all their attention. So the whole setup is very bizarre to me. Rachel felt, so then they have Rachel on the show this week, and they interviewed her. She felt a little bit different from then. And she was actually, you know, very gracious to Joey. And she was like, we had a great time. We're really good friends, you know, all that kind of stuff. Maria, Jen, all of them felt that way. Actually, Jen seemed more upset than any of them on the show, about how they were kind of like, you know, pushed aside by Joey or whatever, or like not picked by Joey. Jen seemed the one that was the most upset, which was kind of surprising to me because she didn't get picked to go to hometowns. Maria was like, you know, it was kind of like a best friend that you had, you know, feelings for or whatever. I was like, okay, that it's interesting that you feel that way when you needed to pull him aside and tell him that you were in love with him or falling in love with him or whatever, right? So then it's down to Kelsey A and Daisy for the final 2. You know, it was interesting because when they interviewed Rachel, it went to this whole thing where she talked about, Jesse asked her, the host Jesse asked her, what has happened after you've gone home, like whatever, and she started crying a lot. And she said, you know, I got so much hate online, and I got DMs, and I got comments from people that were very racist in nature, and she was talking about this, and she's like, you know, at the end of the day, we're just like women, we're just human beings like everybody else, like, if I understand, it's a TV show and you guys just see our faces, but we're real people behind there. It was such a sincere moment. And Jesse asked the women, he said, how many of you have received online hate? And the majority of them raised their hand. In fact, they panned over to Susan and Kathy from The Golden Bachelor, and they both raised their hands too, which I thought was interesting, you know? Kathy was the one in The Golden Bachelor that told Teresa to zip it. And so it's interesting, the online hate. I mean, we see this in a lot of reality shows. We see this on Vanderpump Rules, you know, with Ariana. People that like Sandoval don't like Ariana and vice versa. And, you know, we see this on RuPaul's Drag Race, you know, the queens that get into it on the show, the other ones. I mean, they get a lot of online hate. And, Jesse was saying, and Joey said to her, you never deserved that, you know, whatever. And he also said that at one point, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Sydney she was getting a lot of online hate because of her disagreement with Maria. And I thought Maria handled herself fantastically. I wasn't a big Maria fan this season. I was kind of surprised how much the audience loved her. But I do love that she stood up for herself a lot. But on the show, like, she handled herself fantastically and stood up and like hugged it out with these women. And she was really the one that initiated that, you know? But Sydney, the one that had the huge issue with Maria, she was saying that she was getting a lot of online hate, and Joey actually reached out to her and said, like, I just want to make sure that you're okay. So she was like, what you see on TV is really what you get with Joey. But I thought it was an interesting conversation about like online hate and what you get, you know? As somebody that makes YouTube videos, and I've talked about this in a lot of my videos, especially in the last 6 months, I've received a lot of that. And so I feel like there's a point, you know, like Rachel says, this was new to me. Like, I'm not somebody that like lives online all the time, so this was new to me. You know, as somebody that's been online and lived online for 7.5 years at this point, it's, you know, it's not new to me. And I think it's kind of a sad sentiment that we almost get to the point where we like accept it as the norm. And she says keyboard warriors on there. She says people that hide behind their keyboards, and they say whatever they want to say. They don't show their faces. They don't say who they are. There's so much truth to that, that people will say whatever they want to say without exposing who they really are. And I've always said, like if you really have something to say to me, say it with your whole chest, put your face, put your name on there, put where you're from, link all of your socials, just like I do. I sit in a video with my face and my name underneath there. I'm not hiding from anything, right? With my opinion. So that's weak to me when people do that. My mother was somebody that taught me don't value the opinion of someone you don't value to begin with. I don't value somebody that stands behind an anonymous picture, an anonymous name, and wants to cut me down. Like, I don't really care about that. And that's what I would say to Rachel if she was sitting in front of me, or any of these women, that don't value the opinion of those people. You're never going to know them, right? And they are so weak that they are hiding behind these fake profiles that they make up that have no attachment to their real life whatsoever, because they wouldn't want the people in their real life to know that they're saying such disgusting things to people. But I thought it was a really interesting conversation. So I'm sitting there and they show the end of it with the final rose ceremony, and I'm like, I cannot wait until next week. Listen, I'm going to be in Florida, okay? And I know I'm going to see it on social media somewhere, because I'm not going to be able to watch it till like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm like, when I can get back to watching my shows, and so I'm like, I want to know who is the person. And I thought, well, surely they probably, and don't call me Shirley, they probably keep something like that under such tight wraps, right? Like, they probably keep it under such tight wraps who the Bachelor picks. And I was like, so I Google searched it, and all these articles started coming up, and they were talking about this podcaster, a blogger guy named Reality Steve that I had never heard of before. So on Instagram, his Instagram is I want to give him a shout out, at Reality Steve, okay? And he covers a lot of reality TV stuff, but mostly The Bachelor, it looks like, from his posts on Instagram. I don't know, I've never seen him before. But he had this post, and it says on here, Joey's finale spoilers updated. So he does a lot of spoilers about mostly The Bachelor. And he did The Golden Bachelor. And I looked, and his spoilers of what he thought was going to happen on The Golden Bachelor was exactly what happened. So I have to believe that what he says is going to happen with The Bachelor is exactly what's going to happen. So, like I said, if you do not want to know who wins The Bachelor or who the final person is picked, okay, then don't watch the rest of this video. But here we go. Okay, Joey's finale spoilers. And so underneath here, Reality Steve put, how does the rest of Joey's season play out? Are the rumors true? And what's the unprecedented ending the show has been hyping? And so that's what Jesse said. There's an unprecedented ending that Joey was crying about, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it goes on here, and it tells it right away. It says, Joey is engaged to Kelsey A and has been since filming ended. Back in November, he says, I had reported that Joey was engaged to Daisy. That spoiler was wrong. There's a lot to unpack here, and you probably have a lot of questions, all of which are covered much more in depth on my podcast and his podcast on his column at realitysteve.com. I will link those underneath here. He says, I will try to give as much as I can in the next few slides. And then he says on here, the why were you so adamant it was Daisy for 3 months is kind of an impossible question to answer without revealing sources. And because there were so many layers involved, I believe my info to be true. I always have confidence in my sources. This time, it happened to be wrong. When info was presented to me last week of Joey and Kelsey at the same Happy Couple Weekend house, I realized the spoiler was probably 98% wrong. Just wanted to see if the small percent was maybe he picked Daisy in the end, but had since changed his mind. That's not what happened. It was Kelsey the whole time. Once the pictures came out last week and I realized the spoiler was mostly wrong, I then tried to find out over the weekend exactly what the unprecedented ending was that I heard rumblings about a week ago. Those rumblings ended up being right, just with the names reversed. What's the unprecedented ending the show is promoting? After Daisy's last date with Joey, she realizes that he's not picking her. So she goes to Kelsey's room and tells her basically, it's not me, it's you. This has never been done in show history before. Once the final 3 rose ceremony happens and the final 2 are established, those women and men never see each other or converse during filming, except this season. It goes on to say, then on final rose ceremony day, Daisy arrives first and tells Joey exactly what she told Kelsey, that she knows it's not her. So that's also something that's never happened before. One detail I was trying to find out was this conversation a positive or a negative one? Like, did she tell him off? The answer I was told was it was positive and that there wasn't any animosity. Obviously, I can't know exact wording of the conversation, but the gist I got was that it was a very gracious concession that she wasn't being picked. She knows Joey is in love with Kelsey, wishes him happiness, etc. Which, if you ask me, absolutely screams next Bachelorette setup, but I don't know if that's what Daisy wants. So basically what he's saying here is that she could be a great contender for the next Bachelorette, which I think Daisy would be a great Bachelorette. Then he goes on to say, so I think it's pretty clear now that the scene that they showed to open the season of Joey at the altar on the final day was to make you think his final woman rejected him. He was getting left alone, which one rose on the table and he walks off, removes his jacket, talks to production, etc. I think now we can say that scene is after Daisy tells him she knows it's not her, but before Kelsey arrives. He just needed some time to gather himself after having that happen when he didn't expect it. Is it earth-shattering? Not really. But it definitely was something that had never happened before. Hold on, next slide. No truth to any rumors that Daisy has gotten back with her ex, or even more ridiculous ones that she's engaged to him. But the show absolutely would want Daisy to lead their next season. She's got the biggest following of the women this season. It'd be a huge representation for the deaf community. Her story has resonated with a lot of people, etc. It makes the most sense from a TV production standpoint. Whether she wants it or not, I have no idea. You wouldn't think someone would turn down the opportunity, but I don't know if Daisy would find the process too overwhelming. We should know in a few weeks. There's a lot more fill in the blanks to all this on today's podcast and in today's column at realitysteve.com, so go check them out. I try and answer as many questions as I know, and it goes on here and he says all this kind of stuff. I try to answer as much as I can for you today, but still protecting sources. Sucks to have the spoiler wrong for 3 months, but glad I was able to get it corrected. Congrats to Joey and Kelsey A. Sorry I couldn't have gotten in the spoiler sooner. So I don't know, is it correct? I mean, he seems to be right about a lot of this stuff and know a lot about these spoilers, so I guess we're going to find out. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I will link Steve's information below. Thank you, Steve, for the spoiler and the information. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.